Hello everybody, it's Stephen here for the Idiot Quilter, and this is another demonstration, and I'm doing a demonstration using my Accuquilt machine. And lately I've been having some problems with some other more standard patterns. Well, I don't know if standard is the word for it. But things just haven't been lining up properly. I don't know if it's the pattern, I don't know if it's me, I don't know if it's my cutting. I've been really frustrated with a project. So I decided to put the project onto the back burner and try something else that I think I'll have a little bit more success with. Because in my way of looking at things, if something isn't going right and you're just getting yourself really angry and frustrated with the project, then it's best to put it aside and try something else that you may have more success with, and then that kind of clears your palette, clears your mind, and you can go back and tackle that troublesome project again. So that's what I'm doing today. Now I have this book. When I ordered some of my cubes the last time, I got this book with them. It was a freebie. It's by Eleanor Burns, and it's called Go Qube Mix and Match Blocks and Quilts. And I did do a little review on this book a couple of episodes ago. But I thought, well, I haven't really used this book yet. I've glanced through it. Let's do something out of it and see how that turns out. So, of course, you know I love stars. So I found this pattern for a sawtooth star. And it gives you directions here for each of the cubes, depending on the size that you want to make, and tells you how many pieces you need and how big the rough cut fabric needs to be. Because remember, with an Accuquilt, you don't really have to spend the time straightening up edges on yardage and things like that. You can just grab scraps and throw them down and you'll be fine. That's the theory, and yes, I have found that that actually does work. So I'm going to make one of these first of all, and my idea is we'll see how well this goes together, and if it goes together well, then I'll make a bunch of these. And what I'm using for my fabric is I want to keep this relatively simple and quick, and I had a layer cake, which is 10-inch squares, in my stash, and I thought, what the heck, let's just pull some of those out and use them. So according to these instructions here, I need 4 different colors of fabric. These all came from the same layer cake, so I'm making it easy on myself because all the fabrics in the layer cake do coordinate with each other. So I've pulled these 10-inch squares out, which are more than enough that I need for cutting these particular pieces. And in the instructions, it tells me which block or which die I need and how many pieces that I need. Now, here's something. This one says, the first one I'm going to do is it says rough cut 5.5-inch square of fabric. Rough cut means that's not the finished part. That'll be enough fabric to cover over this whole die. And I do have a 10-inch square, so I should be able to get several pieces out of that if I need them. And it says I need to make 4. Okay, this is divided into 4 sections. I know you can't see it. It's just a simple square here. And they look like they are, how big are the squares? It might tell me on the side. 2.5-inch squares. They're 2.5-inch squares. So with one cut, I get 4. So looking at their diagram, that's what I need. So I only need to cut this once. So what I've done is I've gone to my 8-inch block, and according to these instructions, I have pulled out each die that I need. And so now I'm going to cut the fabric. And in order to do that, I'm going to switch cameras. Okay, so here we are. Here's my book. Here's my instructions for everything. And I'm just going to do what it says to do. So block number 1, I've organized my pile of blocks here in order of cutting, and I've got my cutting mat out for each. So this first block is a number 2 block. This is going to cut 2.5-inch squares. So take my first fabric, lay it on here, put my mat on, and away we go. Okay, slide that off. And they're kind of stuck here. So I've got 4 of those. So, and this is actually a batik, so I don't have to worry about right side, wrong side. That's always good and fast. Okay, so that's cut out. So I'm just going to lay that off to the side and grab my next one. This one is quarter square triangle, 4 inches finished square. It says I need 4 of those. And yes, I just need 4, so 1 cut. So my next fabric, put on my mat, and feed it in. The tricky part I find with the Accuquilt is they tell you to slide the plastic off, and things tend to stick because of static. Yeah, I wonder if I ran a sheet, a dryer sheet across this. I wonder if that would stop it from sticking. Hey, let's give that a try. I'll be right back. So I got myself a dryer sheet, and I'm just going to rub it. Actually, this is the side I'll probably be cutting on, so I'll make sure I put it on the side that's going to be on top of the fabric. I'm just rubbing it all over, and let's just see if that causes or changes anything. Now, the next one, this is a 4.5 inch square, 1 square. It says I only need 1 of those. So let's put on our piece of fabric. Make sure, okay, is that the side? Let's just double check here. I have no idea if this will have any effect or not, but I'm going to give it a try. Might have worked, I'm not sure. Of course, this is only 1 square, so all right. And then the last die is, what's it say? Half square triangle, 2 inches finished square. And I need to make 8 of these. So I'll need to cut the fabric. I get 2. So I need 4 layers of fabric. So can I get 4 layers of fabric out of this if I fold it? Yes, I can. Let's put that down. Let's feed it in. See, that's the beauty of the Accuquilt, because it cuts 6 layers of fabric. So it should make short work of all of these things. Actually, the dryer sheet seems to work. Okay, and I now have 8 of these. Okay, so my cutting is done for this block. So let's lay it out and sew it together. So I'm going to lay that out in just a second. Okay, so I have laid out all my pieces here on my little design board, and now it's time to sew them together. Now, these are flying geese, so I need to attach these pieces to each of those first. So I'm going to go off to my sewing machine, and I'm going to do that. Okay, I'm at my sewing machine, and so now I'm going to make my flying geese. And all I have to do is line up this little cut off corner piece that's on here with this. I've set my machine at a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and I have my 1/4 inch foot on here. So away we go. Okay, so now I'm just going to take this, I'm just going to pull it back and finger press it for now to get it out of my way. I'm going to take the other piece, and normally it would be right sides together, but I don't have to worry about this. As I said, the fabric I have picked is batiks, so there really isn't on this set of batiks anyways a right side or a wrong side. So get that point on. And my machine is telling me that it wants me to put in a new bobbin, so I will do that in a moment, but let's just see how this is looking. Finger press it, and there we have our first flying goose. Geese? I don't know. So I've got 3 more of these to make. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my bobbin, and I'm going to sew the other 3 flying geese, press them, and then I'll be back. So I have my flying geese pieces all sewn together, and I've pressed them, and now I've realigned the block up, so now you can see what the block is going to look like when it's finished. So now all I need to do is sew each of my rows together and then down, and I'll have my block done, and then we'll do our final trimming up. So I'm going to take this to my sewing machine right now, and I'm going to do that. Okay, so here's my final block. And I've done just a very slight little bit of trimming just to make the edges even. And I have measured it now, and it comes out to 8 1/4 by 8 1/4. Now, I'm thinking in my mind, it probably should have come out to 8 1/2 by 8 1/2. But maybe not. I've been having a little trouble lately with my 1/4 inch seam allowance on my sewing machine, and everything I do, everything comes out like that. So, yeah, I can live with that though, because it'll be consistent throughout the quilt with it. But as long as I've got a 1/4 inch, because I'm looking here to make sure that my points won't get cut off when I add another block to this. So I've got a 1/4 inch seam allowance there, so I guess that's okay. 8 1/4 by 8 1/4 is just fine. So, I'm kind of pleased with this. How long did this take to make? Well, because I used a layer cake, so I didn't really have to stress over what color scheme I was going to use, and because I used the Accuquilt blocks and the whole bit, sewed it together, I made this block in about 15 minutes from cutting to finish. So that's pretty good with that, and I'm sure that the more I do it, the faster I'll get as well. Now, it's not all about speed for me, okay? I'm not that interested in the speed, but I am interested in accuracy when I cut, and this seems to do it. So what I think I'm going to do now is, I've tried this, I'm going to make a few more of these, and I might find another block that I like and cut that, and this is how I'm going to make this quilt. And this will clear out my brain right now, and maybe if I have success with this, then I can go back to that one that's giving me a lot of trouble, and maybe I'll see it with new eyes. We shall see. And I'm also going to see if out of all of these scraps, there's still quite a bit here, with the exception of probably that one. I'm going to see if I can get another identical star to this one out of those scraps, which would mean out of 4 pieces, 10-inch layers out of that layer cake, I can get 2 of these blocks, which isn't bad, because I'm just going to use that layer cake for this particular quilt right now. I may add other fabric a little later on, but we'll see how we do with that. So I'm very happy with how this has turned out. This is reinstating my faith in myself with my ability to sew, because I'm telling you that other quilt that I was talking about, yeah, was really making me want to return to my roots of paper crafting and give up quilting. Can't. I've put too much money into this to give it up. So, like I said, this was a palette cleanser, I guess. So stay tuned for more demo videos using the Accuquilt in the future. We'll see you later. Bye-bye. So I did decide to make a second block, and in order to keep it fairly simple and keep this project fairly fast, I just used what I had left in those layer cake squares and created this block. And it's the same block with the exception that I just rotated the flying geese the other way. So this will be the basis of my quilt, or the whole series of these blocks, of the 2 blocks, and I'll show you the final product when I get it done at some point in a future video. Okay, so that's what I want to say about that.